Joining me now for more is former Trump Deputy National Security Advisor KT McFarland. KT, always great to see you. So how effective can these meetings really be if Hamas isn't there to talk about a deal?
No, look, there's not going to be a deal because Israel, on one hand, says, Hamas, you're not going to be allowed to exist after going forward. You're not going to be allowed to continue to survive and to rebuild and come and kill our people again. And on the other hand, Hamas is saying, well, we're not going to agree to anything that calls for our dissolution. So there's not going to ever be a peace deal. The only way to get peace in the Middle East is for Israel to finish the job against Hamas and then to bankrupt Iran. So Iran can't keep supplying missiles and fodder and everything else to Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Palestinians.
Yeah, exactly. Take a listen to what President Trump said yesterday regarding his July meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu.
No, he knows what he's doing. I did encourage him to get this over with. You want to get it over with. It has to get over with fast. But have victory, get your victory, and get it over with. It has to stop. The killing has to stop.
Why isn't President Biden more involved with bringing the hostages home? There are still Americans being held, and he's not talking about it. Neither is Kamala Harris.
Yeah, this is one of the great sins, I think, that we have Americans overseas, and historically, American presidents have done everything to get hostages back and done whatever it takes to get them back. But this administration won't even talk about it. It's like their wall of shame, and they're not even going to talk about the American citizens who were held hostage. They're going to pretend they're trying to get them out. They're going to have negotiations which they know will go nowhere, but they're not getting to the heart of it. And President Trump's right. Let Israel finish the job.
Yeah.
And then, get it done, stop the killing, have a deal.
I want to talk about Afghanistan. So yesterday, marking 3 years of the Taliban taking control, and we saw the parade that they had at Bagram with U.S. military equipment. Those are our trucks, our tanks, our airplanes that they are now flying there. What's your reaction to this and watching what is happening now in Afghanistan?
It's just sickening. I've been to Bagram several times, and it's a sprawling, huge military base. So not only did we leave, hundreds of billions of dollars of equipment, essentially handing it over to the Taliban to use, to resell, to do whatever they wanted with, but we left behind these massive military installations, which now the Chinese are moving into and other countries. It's, 20 years of sacrifice of blood and treasure. And, we had to get out of Afghanistan for sure. It was a war we've been losing for 15 years. But to do it the way Joe Biden did it, with no warning, and to get the military out first and then later to try to get the civilians out, it just made no sense. And not only is it shameful in the sense that we sacrificed all those Americans in blood and treasure for 20 years, but it also marks the point at which all the other countries in the world realized, America, paper tiger. And so our allies have ever since then have not trusted us, and our adversaries have moved in. Within a couple of weeks of the Afghanistan withdrawal, the Russians started moving troops onto the Ukraine border. They knew they could get away with anything if America is this shambolic. The one thing they always thought about Americans is, okay, maybe they made mistakes, but they were as efficient. And this time we were not at all efficient.
In your opinion, with the Afghanistan withdrawal, was that the beginning of the end for Joe Biden?
Yeah. It's the beginning of the end of American primacy and supremacy in foreign policy. So yes, certainly the beginning of the end of Joe Biden. And like my former colleague, Bob Gates, he and I worked together for Henry Kissinger 50 years ago, 45 years ago. Bob Gates then became ultimately Joe Biden's national security advisor when Joe Biden was vice president, the CIA director and the Secretary of Defense. And even Bob Gates said about his old boss, Joe Biden's never been right about anything for 45 years in American foreign policy. So yeah, it just showed up what an incompetent foreign policy leader Joe Biden has proven to be.
And it would only continue under Kamala Harris. KT McFarland, thank you so much for joining me this morning. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.